opportunity to take a call on the Prime Minister's statement. Now, we have heard a lot from the other side about growth, which is a bit new from them. Last year we were hearing about the cost of living, and I was wondering why we're suddenly hearing about growth when cost of living is currently still the main concern for most New Zealanders and hasn't really been fixed. And I wonder, Mr. Speaker, if it's because there are 33,000 more people unemployed under this government, because the unemployment rate is so high, because for Māori workers it's at 9.7% and for Pacifica workers a shocking 10.5% and 1 in 10 Māori unemployed. I wonder if that's why. Because we know that the best way to address the cost of living is through having people in work, for allowing people, for creating the type of economy that keeps people in work and lets people do meaningful work and have meaningful jobs. And this government has failed on that, so now they're talking about growth. But as we've heard, there isn't much of that either, sadly, for them. And I do have a warning for New Zealanders, because we have heard very clearly in some of these headline statements that the Prime Minister has made at the beginning of this year, that if New Zealanders do not chuck this government out, as they should do at the next election, this government is going to privatise New Zealand's assets. It is going to sell the very things that our ancestors and our parents and our grandparents worked so hard to hold in New Zealand ownership. We don't know exactly what they will sell, so we call on the government to rule out these changes in these asset sales. But even better, we call on New Zealanders to chuck this government out and not risk their privatising agenda. And the main thing, Mr. Speaker, that I want to talk about today in my short contribution is jobs and health and safety, which are really linked to my portfolio's workplace relations spokesperson. Now, this government does not care about keeping people in work, as I've already said. They don't care about workers. They listed all of the things that they're doing and, that they think will be that will be good for New Zealanders. But what about those workers at Kinleith Mill, those 230 workers who lost their jobs? What about the 75 people at OG Fibre Solutions? What about the 170 people at Solar Zero? What about the 230 workers at Winstone Pulp? What about the Karioi pulp mill workers? 230 of them lost their jobs. Thousands of public sector workers sacked under this government. What about them? What about their cost of living? What about the growth of their family and their bank accounts? All ignored under this government. Also, Mr. Speaker, we talk about construction. 12,000 fewer in construction. So good luck building and growing without construction. Shocking. This government has failed to protect communities, it's failed to support workers, it's failed to protect jobs, and it's failed to support industry. Where is your industry plan, I say to the government? Where is it? Crickets from the other side. Quickly, before I run out of time, Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about health and safety. Now, I heard it quoted that the Prime Minister in his State of the Nation speech had mentioned something about health and safety. And I read the quote and I couldn't quite believe it. I couldn't quite believe that someone who used to run an airline, which fundamentally is about keeping people safe above all else, would actually say these words. Did he read the draft before he actually said this? Because this does not sound like someone who used to believe that health and safety was the top priority. Now, what did he say in his speech? He said, next we have to fix our broken health and safety rules. He said, and made a joke about it. He made a joke and he said, they're everywhere. They're the fastest growing industry. I bet that got a few laughs from the dads in the room. Mr. Speaker, health and safety is not a joke. Health and safety is incredibly serious. It's estimated that New Zealand loses $4.9 million in productivity from not having good health and safety rules. And what should we do for health and safety then? He says, the Prime Minister says, this year we're going to crack on and make big changes. Well, he is out of touch with business. I have a letter here signed by Business New Zealand, signed by the EMA, saying that John Key's rules, which are the rules that Christopher Luxon is talking about, are fit for purpose. Now, I didn't expect to be defending John Key in this House, but I have to say this government is out of touch with business, with workers, with health and safety professionals, with unions on health and safety. They say they want to tear up health and safety. They call it red tape. They call it green tape. Well, let me tell you, it's keeping workers safe, and there are going to be terrible consequences if you go down this path.